Years ago, my supervisee, Amaro Laria, told me a story about his years between college and graduate school, when he explored healing traditions of many cultures. Amaro trekked to the Himalayas to meet a monk renowned for his knowledge of Buddhist texts on mind and body. Climbing frozen trails for days, he reached the sage and told him he was from America. "America?" replied the monk. "Do you know Stanley Krippner?" Amaro had to say he didn't know Stan personally, but had read his work. The following year, Amaro was in South America, tracking down a curandero who the locals said could heal the most hopeless cases. Amaro trudged through muddy rainforest, pausing at each village for better directions to the remote interior where the curandero lived. When he finally reached the meltingly hot but gorgeously lush clearing around the hut, Amaro again introduced himself by nationality. "America?" replied the curandero. "Do you know Stanley Krippner?" On a third trip in a remote Chinese village, Amaro was almost expecting it when the herbalist he'd just tracked down received him with, "America? Do you know Stanley Krippner?" Here in America, there's a similar effect. Psychology is divided into innumerable subspecialties, academic tribes in the parlance of the anthropologists who study the university's odd subculture. These tribes gather annually from around the world for specialty conferences. It's rare to see the same psychologists at dream and hypnosis meetings, but I quickly encountered Stan at both. Those are just the two that I've regularly been at, but Stan often flew from the Humanistic Psychology Association to the Transpersonal, to psychedelic events, the cross-cultural, PTSD conferences, and various parapsychology groups. Each tribe considers Stan their own. And he wasn't just attending. Most groups, as soon as Stan joined, elected him president. Even what one might consider the other tribe's camp, Stan is beloved. A decade back, I gave an invited address at the Amazing Randy's annual meeting in Las Vegas. Stan told me to say hi to Randy, debunker of the paranormal. Trained as a stage magician, Randy began his career showing how Uri Geller covertly bent spoons before pretending to do so telekinetically. "Stan Krippner said to say hi," I told Randy at the social hour the first evening. The stern debunker's face lit up. "Stan? You saw him? How is he?" "Wonderful guy. I really respect him. He's one of those truly trying to test the phenomena scientifically." I got a similar response from Michael Shermer, the leader of the Skeptics Society. My part of the present symposium is Stan's contributions to dreams and hypnosis. Over the years, I've edited several academic books about dreams and one on hypnosis. Each time, it was a challenge to pick which subtopics to ask Stan to write on. "He should do the parapsychology chapter," someone would tell me. "But what about him for the cross-cultural differences? How about his own chaos theory of dreaming? But don't we want Stan to write on dreams and myths?" And so on. So this will be a very partial summary of Stan's contributions to dreaming and hypnosis. In terms of dreams, early in his career, Stan worked with children, emotionally disturbed, ADD, and gifted populations. He utilized dreams in clinical work with all three groups. His presentations at the 1969 meeting of the National Association for Gifted Children encouraged psychologists to attend to dreams to enhance creativity. He recounted anecdotes such as Elias Howe's creation of the automatic sewing machine in a dream before such anecdotes were known to most of us. Stan's best-known dream research may be that at the Maimonides Laboratory in New York City with Montague Ullman, studying extrasensory perception within dream states. Their meticulously designed studies usually yielded statistically significant correlations between the target material and the dream content reported by the receivers. To ensure the reliability and validity of their findings, Krippner and Ullman implemented several methodologic controls. Target images were randomly selected, and senders and receivers were kept in separate soundproof, electromagnetically shielded rooms. The correspondence between the dream reports and target images were evaluated by blind judges using standardized 5-point rating scales. For example, one trial used a photograph of a sailboat on the ocean as the target material. After focusing on the image throughout the night, the sender's efforts seemingly resulted in the receiver dreaming about a boat at sea, describing the sensation of wind and waves. The judge's rating showed a significant correspondence with a mean score of 4.2 out of 5. These results were statistically significant, with no significant resemblance to target pictures not chosen for the sending. Stan and Monty's studies found more emotional target pictures got the best results, as did more complex ones, while simple geometric shapes, such as triangles and circles, had more modest successes and often as part of complex structures. For example, a triangle target might be reported in a dream as part of a roof. Famously, Stan led the world's largest telepathy experiment from the stage of a Grateful Dead concert, asking the entire audience to send a target that had just been selected in the same controlled manner back to a sleeper at the Maimonides Lab. He was on stage because of some hypnosis work with the band, which I'll get to in the hypnosis section. Stan also carried out a number of cross-cultural dream studies. One looked at Argentinian men and women and found similarities to long-known U.S. gender differences in types of social interactions, aggression, and characters, but stronger levels of self-negativity in Argentinian women versus men compared to the U.S. In Japan, gender patterns were again fairly similar to U.S. ones, with the exception of the men's dreams being even more dominated by male characters than in the U.S., and the female dreams showing more friendliness to female than male characters, while this is fairly equal in U.S. dreams. Most of these studies were done with the Holland Van de Castle dream content scoring system, the most widely used in dream research. However, Stan also worked with his graduate students on a new scale for scoring spirituality in dreams that achieved high reliability on important aspects of dreaming that are not in existing scales. Another aspect of dreaming Stan has explored is that of extraordinary dreams. In a book with co-authors Fariba Bagzaran and Andre Persia de Carvalho, he describes how these are often life-changing by their natural occurrence, but also offers techniques from psychology, anthropology, and hypnosis to work on ones that are not fully understood, to gain important ways to act on them. In the only dream study I've co-authored with Stan, we collected dream accounts from the countries involved in the Arab Spring uprisings to offer potential insights on the dynamics of this important movement from a novel perspective. We discussed these in terms of the continuity hypothesis of dreaming with waking life, but also explored the extent to which more vivid dreams may have also suggested or spurred the events in some way, not merely reflected them, as both Islam and Arabic folk traditions emphasize getting advice from one's dreams. In a dream chapter in the edited book, Haunted by Combat, Stan, along with David Paulson, described how crippling PTSD nightmares are for Gulf War veterans and outlined a variety of techniques that can reduce them, including guided imagery to visualize positive scenarios before sleep, and dream rescripting to change the dream's outcomes and gain a sense of control over their dream experiences. Stan also developed his own theory of dreams, along with psychologist Alan Combs, called the chaos approach to dreaming, which integrates principles from chaos theory into the study of dreams. The chaos approach highlights the fractal nature of dreams, where similar patterns recur at different scales. These fractal patterns suggest underlying psychological structures analogous to the math concept of strange attractors that manifest repeatedly in an individual's dream state. The chaos framework encourages a holistic view of dreams, considering both the micro, specific dreams elements, and macro, overall patterns and themes across an individual's dream journal. It provides new approaches to dream analysis, allowing for a deeper exploration of the complex and nonlinear aspects of dream content. In terms of hypnosis, Stan's recently published book, A Chaotic Life, The Memoirs of Stan Krippner, Pioneering Human Psychologist, describes how, in childhood, he was greatly enamored of comic strip character Mandrake the Magician, who outwitted his adversaries by gesturing hypnotically, producing illusions, engendering confusion, and sometimes making himself invisible. By high school, Stan was practicing hypnosis on consenting classmates at parties, and in college as a dorm counselor aiding study habits. As a graduate student and junior faculty member, he honed his skills by studying with major figures like Milton Erickson and Ted Barber. When Stan worked at the Kent State Summer Reading Program for elementary and secondary school children, he pioneered the use of hypnosis for reading enhancement. In a 1966 study, he compared a group of students who received standard approaches to reading therapy with another group getting this plus hypnotic suggestions for reading improvement. The latter demonstrated significantly better scores on the California reading test than the non-hypnosis controls at the end of the summer. Stan's talk at the 1969 meeting of the National Association for Gifted Children touted creative dreaming, also advocated hypnosis for enhancing creativity, and cited Sergei Rachmaninoff's breakthrough, the 1901 Second Piano Concerto, which was achieved with hypnotherapy after a major period of creative block and was dedicated to his hypnotherapist. Stan also investigated the role of hypnosis in enhancing adult psychological well-being and creativity. His 1985 study revealed that participants in creative writing workshops who received hypnotic suggestions reported higher levels of inspiration and originality in their work compared to a control group. And to get back to why Stan was up on that stage with the Grateful Dead, he'd met drummer Mickey Hart at a party and started leading the band in playing music in trance states, such as slowed and speeded up perceptions of time, a melded group mind, and other techniques. I've published chapters in many edited books, but the 2015 Stan Krippner, A Life of Dreams, Myths, and Visions is the only time I've been in a book that also had a chapter by Mickey Hart. Stan's research has also delved into the neurophysiology of hypnosis. In a 1993 study with Michael Winkler, they utilized EEG to monitor brain activity during hypnotic states, discovering distinct patterns associated with deep hypnotic trance, such as increased theta wave activity. This provided early empirical support for the altered state theory of hypnosis, suggesting that hypnosis induces unique neurological states conducive to therapeutic change. In a 1994 study, Stan examined the use of hypnosis for pain management among burn patients. The findings demonstrated that patients who received hypnotic interventions to alter pain perception reported significantly lower pain levels compared to those who did not receive such treatment. In a 2000 study with war veterans, Stan and his colleagues demonstrated that hypnotic techniques, including guided imagery and hypnotic regression, significantly reduced the frequency and intensity of PTSD symptoms, particularly nightmares and flashbacks. Veterans reported a 40% decrease in the frequency of nightmares and a 50% reduction in distress levels associated with PTSD symptoms. And I'm not going to go into the shamanic cross-cultural aspects of Stan's work, as Ian is going to cover that. But I just wanted to mention one seminal paper of his titled Trance and the Trickster that makes the case that hypnotic phenomena are liminal in nature and that hypnotic practitioners, most especially those of an indirect Milton Erickson style of hypnosis, share many traits with traditional society's trickster archetype. Stan has always been sophisticated in Western science approaches, but equally honoring of non Western ones, with their experiential, participant observer, and qualitative ways of knowing, and ones that include data from indigenous societies, developing nations, and marginalized groups such as women, ethnic and sexual minorities. Stan has written that we need a world psychology rather than what he calls the weird one, an acronym for Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and developed, a point which mainstream psychology is only in the last several years starting to catch up to.